Mr. Parrish, I am happy to be talking to you because that short of yours, my goodness, that's spectacular stuff, sir.
Oh, thank you.
The thing that I loved about it just had this fountain, like a fountain of youth quality. It was vibrant, it was energetic, just spoke to longing for the past, but building towards a future. It was just lovely. Well, let's start with the origins. Where did you come up with this idea?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. It's very kind of you. The idea came from a bunch of different places, to be honest. The kind of seed of the idea was from my own observations on myself as I was recognizing that, I was starting to get older, my body was changing, my knees were giving out, things like that. But that very quickly led to conversations with my mom, who was, I think in her mid 60s at the time. And she would always talk about, when she grew up, she was going to do all these awesome things. And the fact that she said, when I grow up, really, really caught me and made me realize that youth is this kind of state of mind, that it's a perspective, and that if I'm focused on the past, I'm going to miss the present. And then we started talking about, my grandparents who have passed, but one set of my grandparents, they sold their house, they bought an RV, they traveled the country, went to all the national parks. And my other grandparents were mostly sedentary and mostly homebodies. And I just felt like there was a really unique dichotomy there that could be represented in a couple, which is also representative of myself and my wife. She's very much the live in the present kind of person. And I'm kind of the trying not to wallow in the past guy. You know what I mean?
So using your analogy, you're the curmudgeon who's sitting in the chair in the beginning of your short, Mr. Parrish. Is that correct?
I think a lot of the stories that I tell come from my own struggles emotionally. And so, yeah, I very much relate to art. In my previous short film, Puddles, I very much related to Skylar, the sister who's on her phone and who's missing the point. I think I tend to, I'm so focused on making sure I'm getting all the things done or what have you, that sometimes I miss being present. And my wife is so good at grounding me and reminding me that this world is beautiful and we need to stop and we need to appreciate it. And that's really what I wanted that feeling to come from in this film.
Now, I don't want to impart my thoughts on your piece because it's your piece, and it's fantastic, but it's almost as if you wanted us to feel like nothing is absolute, including age, that you wanted us to see that no matter where we are in life, we could go out and do something as silly as dancing in the rain or enjoying a carnival. And I mean, am I far off or am I in the ballpark?
Not at all. No, I think you nailed it. We didn't want this to be just about age necessarily, although that is kind of the core of it, right? Like, no matter the age, there are always things that prevent us from being present and from having that good time and enjoying the world. And that at any age we can choose to turn that off, and we can choose to shift our perspective to appreciate those things, to appreciate a playful romp in the rain or a carnival or a corn dog or what have you. You know what I mean? Like, to be childish, to be playful, to be fun, to live your life.
I found your choice for choreographer to be quite compelling because, and you can speak to this, but the choreographers you chose have a reputation for being able to mix the past with the present and to be able to kind of meld things together. And I think it really went well with your theme. So what led you to those two? And you can say who they are.
Yeah, you nailed it. Keone and Mari Madrid are our choreographers, and that is one of the many reasons why we chose them. Is we wanted everything in the film to kind of have this blend of past and present. Again, to speak to the thematic, the music has a blend of past and present. The sets have a blend of past and present. The lighting has a blend of past and present. We use a lot of neon light for that reason. But also, I think we chose Keone and Mari because they're incredible dancers, and their style of movement blends that past and present, but also feels like animation. It's this exaggeration of normal acting, of normal life. But they also have this really sincere tenderness and emotion between the two of them because they're a married couple. And that love, that like undying love, even during fights, comes through in their dance. And that's what we needed for Art and Dot. It's this relationship that has been through a lot, as every relationship has, yet that bond is still incredibly strong.
Again, I really want to know this. This really was bothering me, and I'm hoping you can at least give me some semblance of an answer.
Sure.
How do you get Keone and Mar to choreograph those sequences and somehow translate them into animation? Were they wearing a suit? Were you was it body capturing? I mean, I really want to know how you did it.
We did a reference shoot with Keone and Mari and two other dancers, where we use that reference for the animators. The animators use that reference to create their animations so that we could be as specific as possible to Keone and Mari's movements, and then exaggerate. You know, we sped stuff up, we slowed stuff down, we made stuff bigger, we changed poses for the camera because obviously we didn't know exactly what the cameras were going to be when we were choreographing. We had a decent idea, but we didn't know exactly. You know, we changed stuff up, but we had a really great like reference starting point where it was a bit of a chicken and egg problem throughout, because we had to have the story to have the dance. We had to have the dance. We had to have the music to have the dance, but we needed the dance to tell the story. So we were kind of all over the place. And so the way it worked kind of at the tail end of the process was, once we had the story locked in, we wrote the music, we re-edited the storyboards to the final music, and then we gave them those storyboards with the music. And I kind of talked them through the emotional core of each scene. Here's what the two characters are saying to one another. And then they would take some time and they would send me back videos of them dancing basically in their studio. And they would give me options and things like that. And then we kind of refined it from there and then used that reference for the animators.
Now, the thing I notice about your career, because I've done some studying on you, Mr. Parrish, not
Uh-oh.
to get a little creepy, but we did some research, and everything you seem to have done in your career, animation-wise, especially with the shorts that you've done, is very deliberate. Like, you have a purpose. There's nothing that's there that isn't there for a reason. So water, I'm going to guess, you know, like the youth, washing away the past for the present. That's just my guess.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to peg your color choices. I mean, why did we go? There was sort of like there was a brightness at one point, color palette that you used to sort of to a lightness, and of course you contrast with the gray. So can you speak to, you know, those three things sort of as we wrap this up?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a very deliberate palette throughout the film. So the opening scene in the apartment, we wanted it to feel a little bit desaturated, like a little bit of the joy has been removed. It still wanted to be bright, but it wanted to feel kind of dusty, if you will. You know, he's
Very
kind of this curmudgeon who's kind of stuck in the past, right? And then we kind of shift toward dusk across that scene as kind of the emotion is going down, because I wanted to get to a place where I knew that I wanted Act 2 to take place in the rain at night, because you would just have the theatricality of the water on the ground and everything like that. We could really get vibrant. So you kind of get a little bit of a dip there before the rain comes in. Then we start bringing in the saturation, the brightness, all of that. That shifts kind of at the midpoint when they realize that the rain is moving away. And we started to use a lot more of kind of a cyan green color to try to make it feel just a little bit on edge. And then as they run to the end of the pier, we start to pull that saturation out of the world again from him. So the clouds are kind of gray, a little bit more blue, a little bit darker again. And then even when they're sitting on the bench together, there's different colored light depending on the tone of that scene. And as he's kind of realizing what Dot has been saying to him the whole time, we start to bring the saturation and the color back in. And by the end, we're kind of at full brightness, full saturation, full life again, to kind of echo that arc that Art goes through.